Shin had it an unremarkable individual lacking confidence. Don't like our drastic can wear an external real fantasy and various nublis. Subsequently revealed. Initially desiring to eliminate the alien, he progressively came to accept it as an ally, causing to combat other carnivorous parasites. In the process, he transformed into an irresistible figure to woman. The narrative begins with Shin awakening to a soft voice lamenting his failure. Startled by the voice, Shin dismisses it as a mere nightmare from the previous night, then discards the unsettling thought and heads downstairs for breakfast. His parents inquire about his well-being, noting his erratic behavior from the night before. The unassertive young man, with no clear recollection of the evening, opts to forgo breakfast and leave for school. En route, his love interest, Marano, unexpectedly assails him from behind, but his right hand instinctively deflects the assault. Marano expresses astonishment at his quick reflexes. She, however, explained that his hand acted independently. Immediately afterward, he behaves inappropriately towards Marano, who, embarrassed, slaps him and flees. Their mutual acquaintance, Takai, remarks to Shin that such behavior is typical for someone with zero bitches. Upon arriving at school, Shin dozes off. He had slept poorly the previous night due to an alien parasite as assault. It attempted to invade his brain via his ear, but his earphones obstructed its entry. When the parasite then attempted to penetrate his brain, through his nose, Shin sneezed and awoken he caught a fleeting glimpse of the alien, mistaking it for a snake. However, it abruptly lunged at him, beginning to burrow into his right hand. Fortunately, Shin managed to use his earphone cord to tightly bend his arm. This action stopped the parasite from advancing further. Highlighting a benefit of work outward, his father's nurse that in. His father promptly advised him to find a new drug dealer, convinced Shin was under the influence of substances causing him to hallucinate snakes entering his body. Shin then abruptly awakens. He jolts awake from the vivid dream of the previous night's events, discovering an angry teacher confronting him for using his smartphone in class. Shin attempts to deny any wrongdoing. Yet, the evidence clearly contradicted his claim. Subsequently, Marano remained upset with him, prompting Takei to intervene as a mediator, concerned for Shin's psychological well-being. He opts to leave school early, pondering whether there is genuinely an issue with his right hand or if he is merely hallucinating. While heading home, he observes a girl negligently crossing the road with a car rapidly approaching. He instinctively intervenes, shielding her. He halts the vehicle using only his right hand. Shin is astonished by his own actions, and upon examining his hand, he notices its altered form. A signal A has manifested in its core. So it swiftly reverts to its normal state. The sight profoundly disturbs him, causing him to flee home and suffer a panic attack in his bedroom. He attempts to stab his right hand, which abruptly morphs into an extraterrestrial entity capable of speaking in fragmented sentences, albeit with better English. It speaks more coherently than gift commerce. The creature reveals it failed to fully possess his body, only managing to consume and replace his right hand, leading Shin to suspect he is developing schizophrenia. Shin abruptly assaults the alien controlling his arm, but it effortlessly shatters the knife and flings it away. The entity then requests Shin to instruct it on speaking, as it is still unskilled. However, it suddenly falls dormant, and his hand reverts to its usual state. Shin, utterly bewildered, scours the internet for explanation. Finding no answers, he ultimately resolves to fake normalcy, oblivious to the fact that extraterrestrial beings have already infiltrated the globe, supplanting and devouring humans. The following morning, Shin awakens to discover the alien calmly perusing books. It is gathering global information, now capable of articulate speech, exhibiting signs of exceptional intelligence, and able to shape-shift into various beings. Shin begins to feel a slight affinity for the parasite and inquires if it is an alien, but the entity claims ignorance of its origins. It recollects only even since its awakening within his arm, and its initial sensation was frustration over its inability to seize control of his brain. This revelation plunges Shin into a panic, but the alien swiftly clarifies that it is now powerless to do more, having already consumed and replaced his arm. It added that had it possessed his head instead, the situation would be entirely different, with it controlling his body. Shin declares his immediate intention to go to the hospital. He plans to have his monstrous right hand amputated, but the alien warns against it, explaining that it relies on Shin as nutrients and would freeze if severed. Furthermore, Shin would was a right hand equipped with a mouth and shape-shifting abilities, which the alien suggests is a significant advantage for someone like him. Shin labels it a parasite, but the creature responded by proposing they should simply collaborate. As it too thirsty, the parasite instantly grows weary and falls asleep, restoring Shin's hand to its normal state. Later, at breakfast, Shin overhears his father reading a newspaper article detailing a series of savage and brutal killings, ominously termed Mincemat murders. These gruesome events have been occurring recently. The projects to school but then contemplated surrendering himself to the authorities. He considers revealing everything about his alien hand to the police. However, the parasite advises against it, cautioning that he would be subjected to experimentation as lab subjects. It warns that he would become test subjects for the wronged scientist. Abruptly, the parasite alerts him to the proximity of another of its kin, clarifying that parasites can detect each other's brainwaves. Shin resolves to pursue the direction of the newly detected parasite, but fear quickly grips him at the thought that it may have possessed a human. Unsure of what awaits him, his own parasite nevertheless propels him onward, leading him to eventually discover a dog. The dog is devouring the carcass of another canine. Shin, bewildered, realizes the dog itself has been taken over by a parasite. He panics. The dog parasite observes his right hand and states that it also failed. Suddenly, Shin's alien senses a murderous intent and pulls him to safety. They need to compose themselves before engaging in combat. Meanwhile, the parasitic dog transforms, growing wings, and ascends into the sky. He quickly pinpoints their hiding spot in a park. Shin's alien declares they will confront it there. It abruptly launches an assault on the fleeing dog. Using still a tentacle to pierce its heart with a single, accurate blow. The dog is instantly killed. Shin is incredulous at the swiftness of the event, but his alien companion observes intently. As the decreased dog parasite shrivel and express, the alien coldly remarks that it failed due to insufficient preparation. Shin then comprehends that his partner possesses absolutely no empathy, resembling an unfeeling insect. Elsewhere in the city, a woman is being accosted by a gang of ruffians. A man suddenly materializes, effortlessly subduing all the attackers. He then escorts the woman home, behaving like a silent protector. However, the dogs unexpectedly reappear to attack him once more, striking his head with a bat. The man remains unfazed, instead remarking casually that his stomach cannot accommodate 4 individuals simultaneously. No one comprehends his statement, but then, without warning, the skin on his face begins to peel away, much like orange peels in a fluid-based facial cleanser advertisement. He then dismembers all of them with his razor-sharp tentacles. The parasite subsequently alters its appearance to evade capture and proceeds on its journey. Meanwhile, Shin opts to keep the extraterrestrial being and not inform the authorities, realizing his vulnerability without it after today's encounter with the dog. He finds it odd to constantly refer to it as the alien, so he attempts to name it. The creature asks to be called Migi, which means dragon in Japanese. Although it admitted that names are unimportant to it, as it is neither human nor animal. Later, with Maggie as assistants. Shin as athletic prowess significantly improved, causing Marano to become infatuated with him. This also incites jealousy in the class bully, who also likes Marano. After the game concludes, Takei brings Marano to speak with Shin, aiming to resolve their past disagreement, and Shin finally gets the opportunity to apologize to her. She forgives him, but only if he agrees to take her out for dessert the following Sunday. She is simply pleased to hear his apology, but then Marano notices something different about him. Tachen. After she departs, Maggie observes that Shane as her trait was unusually high during his conversation with the girl. Maggie concludes Shane is clearly smitten with her. Just then, the class bully confronts Shane, angrily accusing him of monopolizing Marano's attention. Shane tries to avoid a fight, claiming he can't control the situation, but the bully attacks him without warning. Shane fears Maggie might be provoked and eliminate this unfortunate individual. Fortunately, Maggie restrains itself, merely using a gomu-gomu no pistol to incapacitate the bully. This action is enough to scare the bully away. Later, Takei begins discussing the gruesome Minchimet murders. The same Shin as father had been reading about. No one knows the culprits, but similar incidents are occurring worldwide, with Takei fans highly suspicious. However, Shin suddenly realizes that the parasite aliens must be responsible for all this killing. Upon returning home, Shin researches the murders for Ken and questions Migi. Migi confirms Sanchez's acts are indeed committed by its species. It explains observing a parasite possessing a dog consume another dog, indicating that they can only feed on the same species as their host. Migi states that, being cannibal, it is natural for them to eat humans when using them as host. Shin panics upon hearing this, wondering if he should alert the world and attempt to save humanity, but Maggie doesn't understand his concern. According to Maggie, it can simply add to survive, viewing it as a natural process. Shin asserts the value of human life, but Maggie argues that the only lives it values are its own and Shin as, because it needs him. Shin calls Migi an insect and a parasite, but Migi warns him that if he opposes it, it will sever his tongue, preventing him from telling anyone anything. Grieved by the parasite, Shin abandons the idea. Migi continues the debate, pointing out that humans consume various animals, while its skin only eats a few, suggesting humans might actually be worse. The next day, another alien spots Shin and Migi. Migi senses it immediately to and warns Shin. Unable to locate the alien in the crowded market, Migi suggests she go somewhere quiet. Shin agrees, expressing a desire to meet the other alien. A notion Migi deems insane. Migi questions why Shin isn't afraid, given he could die, especially since he was terrified yesterday. Shin replies that she wants to learn more about the parasites to protect humans from them. So then, the other individual appearing. He looks at Shin as right hand and immediately perceives danger, attributing it to Shin as still intact human brain. He walks calmly forward while Migi threatens to kill him if he tries anything. The man makes an offer, asking Migi to transfer to him, stating that there is still time for Elle to change host. To prove his point, he transforms his body, severs his own hand, and urges Migi to join him, claiming they will be stronger together. Shin panics, thinking Migi might switch sides, but it remains steadfast. The other parasite grows impatient and attacks, but Migi reacts instantly and takes him down. The other alien is shocked and cannot believe it lost. Shin thanks Migi for saving his life. However, Migi replies that it was the adventure if switching bodies was possible, so this was the safer option. The next day, Shin and Marano go on their dessert date, and during their conversation, Marano mentions her parents are scared because of the Minchimet murders. Shin quickly wondered if how she would react if he ever told her about Migi. They walk through the park afterward, and find a group of boys burying a child in the sun and throwing stones at it for fun. Marano is distressed by the sight, and says she can't bear to watch it. She wants to leave, but she demonstrates a heart of gold, like Superman. He walks ahead and rescues the child, telling the boys to stop harming innocent creatures. The boys call him a boomer for interrupting their fun and throw stones at him as he turns back, but Mickey catches all of them. Shin then gave us the boys an intense stare, which completely frightens them off, and they run away. This was more than enough to impress Marano, who grabbed Shin's hand, but her instinct still her that something is wrong. She switches her grip from his right hand to his left. A few days pass, and the number of Minchemet murder cases continues to increase. Shin is disgusted by the news, and Marano begins to notice that he is growing even more distant and different each day. One day, while walking to school, Miggy suddenly senses another parasite nearby. Shin grows alert upon hearing this, but when Miggy points towards the school building, he starts panicking like never before. At school, Shin anxiously scans the halls to find the parasite, and Miggy warns him not to act suspiciously, because if the parasite is nearby, it might sense them too. Just that, a new teacher is introduced to the class as Miss Tamir, and the moment she steps onto the stage, Miggy confirms that she is the parasite. What is even worse, she is assigned to be Marano as homeroom teacher. Shin grows uneasy upon hearing this, and Miggy again warns him not to look at Tamiya. But he can't help it, and the woman notices him, realizing that he is on off tempo. Later, during the sports class, Miggy comments on how intelligent Tamiya must be, because she has managed to maintain her hostess identity and position in society, and she is also working as a teacher. Shin wonders if she plans to eventually add everyone at school, but Miggy says that she won't want to blow her cover, so she won't fit on people near her in class. While Tamiya is teaching, Miggy falls asleep, and Shin panics because he thinks he is in danger. He fumbles his way through the rest of the period, and after the class, Tamiya asks him to come to the office later. The other boys tease him, joking that he is getting attention from the mommy teacher, and Shin lashes out at them. Because they don't know how deep in trouble he is anyway, he heads to the office, and luckily, Miggy wakes up on time. Once they get inside, Tamiya gets straight to the point. She calmly assures Shin she has no desire to fight him. Instead, she invites him to meet after school for a more proper conversation. Miggy immediately agrees, but Shin is suspicious, fearing it is a trap. Tamiya says that if she wanted to kill him, she would have done it already, and reveals that she is just as curious about their unusual hybrid bond. She promises to exchange information with him and possibly even cooperate in the future. After school, Shin goes to meet her, but Miggy suddenly detects two parasites approaching. Shin panics again, but Miggy can't leave it is attrapped yet. Tamiya soon arrives accompanied by a man she refers to as Mr. A, due to his lack of a name or distinct personality. Immediate tension flares between him and Miggy, but Tamiya quickly de-escalates the situation. She states that fighting is pointless, and they all settle down to converse. Tamiya then asks Shin for his opinion on their species, though Shin bluntly replies that they are human-eating monsters. Tamiya acknowledges his perspective but believes they are more complex than that. She then startlingly reveals that she and Mr. A had unprotected intercourse a few weeks prior, and as a result, she is now pregnant. Shin stares in horror, prompting Tamiya to inquire what kind of being he imagines as growing inside her. Miggy interjects, stating it as a normal human infant. Tamiya confirms this, appearing somewhat bewildered herself. She, however, remains unconvinced, asserting that flesh-eating monsters still exist, even as they engage in their discussion. During their philosophical exchange, Mr. A grows restless. He stands, declaring the conversation meaningless, and forced to continue preying out and consuming humans, just as he has always done. However, he now perceives Shin as a potential threat and resolves to eliminate him shortly. After Mr. A departs, Tamiya warns Shin against provoking her. She explains that if he attempts to threaten her, she could effortlessly slaughter an entire classroom, including Morano, for whom she knows Shin harbors affection. Nevertheless, she assures him that for the moment, she prefers tranquility and maintaining her anonymity. The following day in class, Takai mentions having seen Shin on the bus the previous evening. She expresses that she and Morano were concerned for him, but Shin confesses the truth. Suddenly, Migi urgently whispers to Yin that they are under assault. Tamiya also observes that it is Mr. A who has already infiltrated the school building. Tamiya calmly dismisses her students to self-study and exits the room. Meanwhile, Mr. A commences a violent rampage, and Shin determines he must intervene. Migi suspected Tamiya will not get involved, believing her too rational to take sides. And that she will merely observe them. Just then, an announcement blares over the intercom, instructing students to evacuate the premises immediately. Migi proposes they confront and defeat Mr. A, suggesting the most effective strategy is to use the student body as a diversion and a shield for a counterattack. Shin is enraged by this idea and refuses to commit such an inhuman act. Instead, he rushes upstairs alone, but en route, he collides with Morano. She grasps his arm, but he snaps at her, ordering her to keep her distance. He soon reaches an unoccupied classroom. Migi remarks that their initial plan would have been more effective, but Shin insists that he will fight like a human. Migi remains silent, but understands that humans are often driven by emotion, which frequently leads to foolish decisions. Shin quickly constructs a makeshift barrier using desks and tablets, then asks Migi if he is upset with him for rejecting his strategy. Migi dismisses the question, stating they like him for such concerns, and is already formulating their next move. He asks Xie what distinguishes him from Mr. A, and the answer is their duality, allowing them to divide responsibilities. Migi swiftly surveys and sharpens a like into a makeshift spear, handing it to Shin as his weapon for the impending confrontation. He asserts that Mr. A underestimates humans, and if Shin can execute a surprise strike, they will prevail. Shin listens intently, then conceals the weapon in his sleeve. Just at that moment, Mr. A crashes through the window from the floor below, transforming Shin's improvised barricade into a trap. Mr. A taunts Shin, claiming that aside from his right hand, his entire body is isolated and 3 feet of him. And this assessment is accurate. However, Shin recalls Migi's earlier warning about this very scenario, given Migi's reliance on him. If Shin were to panic, it would hinder Migi as well, so he resolves to compose himself. Suddenly, Mr. A launches an assault, and Migi expertly blocks all his attack. Shin remembers that Migi's strategy involved feigning an attack while primarily focusing on defense. And since Mr. A underestimates humans, he will not perceive Shin as a threat. Shin has no alternative but to trust Migi as plan, and he slowly advances towards Mr. A, who completely disregards him. This proves to be Mr. A's gravest error, as Shin successfully stabs him in the chest with the tablet. Mr. A immediately retaliates, but Migi intercepts his blows. It is already too late for Mr. A. Shin strikes severed a vital artery in his hair, causing blood to gush rapidly from the wound. He still manages to shove Shin aside, and then shoves the steel paper through his own body, exiting his back to stem the blood flow. He begins to stagger as he retreats from Shin. Migi urges that they should finish him off now. Shin hesitates, unwilling to commit murder, but Migi reminds him that Mr. A is not human, and technically, murder only applies to the killing of humans. Meanwhile, Mr. A cannot fathom being killed by a human. He realizes his current body is failing and decides to take a desperate chance, seeking a new host, ideally Tamiya's body. He slowly approaches her, but as he opens her office door, Tamiya leaps out, leaving several oxygen cylinders open in the room. Mr. A remains oblivious to her action until the accumulated oxygen triggers a massive explosion, killing him before the police can arrive. She is left traumatized by the incident, and even with the passage of time, he struggles to come to terms with having stabbed a human body. In the interim, Tamiya faces disciplinary action from the school administration because she refuses to disclose the father of her child. Rather than engaging in arguments with what she considers the woman about her right to privacy, she opts to resign and assume a new identity. She encounters him before departing the school, informing him that since she intends to abandon her identity as Tamiya, she no longer needed to keep the individuals in her social circle alive, and that includes him. Shin begins to panic at this revelation and questions why she and the other aliens consume humans. He explains that Migi can survive on the nutrients in his blood, implying that other parasites could also subsist on different types of food. Tamiya concedes she might be correct, but states that cannibalism is as inherent to them as flight is to bees or web spinning is to spiders. She believes that all life forms on Earth, except humans, possess a guiding directive, and they simply follow its dictates. She recounts that the moment she inhabited a human body, she felt her life's purpose was to devour other human. Shin is terrified, yet he still asks what she intends to do with her baby. Tamiya responds that she will give birth to it and then utilize it for experiment, but if it proves useless, she will consume it. Shin is outraged by this. Tamiya senses his indignation and transforms, preparing for a fight. Meiji realizes his tensions against her, because she can morph into two distinct patterns simultaneously, indicating she is far more evolved than him. However, Tamiya suddenly perceives that Shin is no longer entirely human, and she decides to spare his life, intending to learn more from him later. That night, she receives an unexpected visit from the mother of the royal Tamiya. Wow discerns that the woman before her is not her daughter. She demands to know who she is and where her lucky Tamiya stand. Because she had never imagined an ordinary human could penetrate her flawless disguise, the elderly woman decides to contact the authorities. But Tamiya kills her before she can. However, Tamiya is now intrigued, wondering if the woman possessed some unique ability she should have investigated further. On the other hand, when Shin awakens the next morning, he discovers Migi is absent from his body. He panics, only to find that Migi has detached himself and is taking a brief stroll around the room. Migi swiftly reconnects, informing Shin that he can now operate independently for up to 3 minutes after detaching. Shin questions if Migi intends to control his brain, but Migi clarifies this is impossible since he developed solely as an arm and lacks the capacity to command a brain. This revelation, however, sparked Shin SP. Had other brain-controlling parasites might be able to switch host heads. Migi considers this possibility before heading off for breakfast. There, he discovers his parents' travel plans. Shin warns them about the inherent danger of visiting unfamiliar locations. Given the current circumstances, his mother is receptive to his concern and considers canceling the trip, but first, she inquiries if anything specific has been troubling him. Shin, unwilling to discuss it, abruptly departs for school. The underlying reason Shin conceals Migi's existence from his parents is his apprehension that Migi, prioritizing only his own survival, would unhesitatingly harm them, and disregards human feelings. Meanwhile, Shin's father, Kazuo, suggests to his wife, Nebuko, that her overprotective nature might be making their son uneasy. They stems from the scar on her hand. Nebuko vividly Rachel's dedation, then in middle school, requested aluminum plates for a science project. He stumbled reaching for them on a high shelf, and a pot of scalding oil nearly struck his head. Nebuko's swift reaction averted disaster. Though she severely burned her hand, Kazuo believed she now avoids burdening her, feeling remorseful about that incident. Concurrently, Migi begins researching firearms for potential future application. Various Russian not to fret over his parenta, explaining that parasites typically congregate in urban areas, where abundant human prey is available, and we primarily target isolated individuals. Repositioning as parents would be saved on their beach vacation. Then at home, Shin feels relieved, but his mother enters, prompting him to hastily console Migi. She then asks him who he was conversing with. He responds that he was talking to himself and shouts at him to knock before entering next time. Nebuko, saddened by his tone, exits the room. She informs Kazuo that their son yelled at her. He suggests that it was likely due to her interrupting him during a private moment. Later that day, Shin informs his parents that he has reconsidered and now believes it as a good idea for them to proceed with their trip. Nebuko, however, refuses to tolerate his erratic behavior and confronts him angrily, demanding to know what's wrong. She begins to cry, lamenting that he seems like a stranger. She, still unwilling to reveal Migi, explained he was initially worried about being lonely without them, but then realized he could simply invite friends over, so they felt too isolated. He returns to his room, leaving his parents convinced of his sincerity. The following week, they depart for their vacation. Nebuko is particularly enthusiastic, as she has enjoyed an extended break in years. Elsewhere, Aman drives with his new girlfriend. Unawarisha is a parasite. She struggles with fundamental human concepts, such as yet blood operation, and distracts him, causing their char to carry down aisle, but are severely injured. And, realizing her host's body is unsalvageable, the parasite becomes desperate. She assaults the man and assumes control of his body. Although the assimilation is imperfect, such an at least move. Back home, Gasenua. Pasti juga kerajaan yang akan melalui beaming impul. Maggie reveals that some of his cells infiltrated Shin as bloodstream, reaching his brain, thus altering parts of him. Shin is stunned by this revelation and attempts to reassure himself of his continued humanity. At that moment, he encounters a group assaulting the school bully. He intervenes, but they strike him and order him to retreat. However, Shin recalls Migi as past assertion that a key distinction between human and parasites is the capacity for altruistic action, even without personal gain. Desiring to affirm his humanity, Shin again defends the bully, Mitsuo. The gang leader, strikes Shin, but before Migi-chan awakens, a girl named Kana intervenes, ordering her group to stop. Kana then questions Shin as intelligence, yet upon closer inspection, she perceives an anomaly within him. She abruptly senses Migi's presence and started, asks Shin, "What the hell are you?" before fearfully retreating. At school, Shin receives considerable attention and commendation for defending his pair, and he endeavors to appear modest, recognizing humility as another human characteristic. Later, on their way home, Shin and Murano encounter Kana, who photographs them. She asks to where he didn't flee earlier. Shin replies it as simply what one does when a classmate is in distress, but Kana dismisses him as a poser, claiming having morality. While likely consoling Someti, Shin walks away, unwilling to image further. Yet acknowledges she is the entirely mistaken. Manuel, Mitsuo, intensely infatuated with Kana, grows jealous of her attention towards Shin and resolves to seek retribution. He and his gang assault Shin and abduct Murano. Shin, somehow tracking them, follows them to their morning meeting spot and demands they release Murano. Retux disregards Shin, and Mitsuo begins to beat him. Migi attempts to emerge to assist, but Shin orders him to stop, insisting on handling the situation himself, like a man. Despite being severely outmatched, Shin continues to fight. Migi warns him that his opponents are far superior in strength, and he cannot win. She, however, remains undeterred, stating that humans fight for causes greater than themselves. His struggles valiantly but is cornered once more, triggering Migi as protective instincts. Shin barely manages to keep him controlled. Fortunately, Kana arrives at that moment and commands everyone to chase. Immediately afterward, boys from Shin's school appear, and a brawl erupts between him and Mitsuo Esga. Amidst the chaos, Shin escapes with Murano, while Chan walks him home. She tends to his injuries and compliments his earlier bravery. As she leans on his shoulder, Shin hopes race, and they ask if Shin would like to stay over, given his parents' absence. However, she ultimately returns home. Migi expresses disappointment, stating his desire to observe human reproduction. Shin silences him and tells him to sleep, but then Kana appears, inquiring who was speaking with her. Shin evades her question. Kana apologizes for her previous behavior, expressing a desire for friendship. Shin agrees, saying no harm in it. However, as they shake hands, Kana perceives something unusual about his right hand. Yet, noticing her honest, swiftly withdraws and hurries inside his house. Instead, Migi advises him to avoid Kana, deeming her overly perceptive. They believe she can detect the specific wavelength parasites emit, to locate authors of their species. While Murano possesses a similar ability, Kana's instinct is far more potent, leading him to conclude that this girl poses a significant threat. Shin conjures with him. Elsewhere, the parasite inhabiting the man is body post accident as finding individual to adapt to its new male host. Craving a female form once more, it resolves to seize the first woman at spots. Coincidentally, Shin's parents are in close proximity to this creature. As he watches the sunset from a cliff top, the entity abruptly materializes, brutally severing Nabucco's head before Kazu's eye. Subsequently, Shin retrieves a distressed child from a wounded Kazu. Kazu recounts a monster as assault on his machine and urges him to contact the authorities. He abruptly ends the conversation, leaving Shin in a state of panic, dreading that the creature might be a parasite, the one responsible for attacking his parents. Unaware of their current whereabouts, he drifts off to sleep awaiting updates, only to be plagued by a disturbing nightmare. Upon waking the following morning, Meiji informs him of an alien's presence. Shin, infuriated, chastises Meiji, asserting his parents' pain is due to Meiji's earlier assurance of their safety by the badge. Meiji responds with unfailing rationality, explaining that his advice was merely a matter of probability, never a guarantee of absolute certainty. Haichan instructs Shin to concentrate on the immediate confrontation. Shin seizes Agnew, intending to contribute, even though Meiji deems his assistance superfluous. Unexpectedly, the door unlatches. Shin ponders how the extraterrestrial managed to bypass their home as like the alien turn proceeds to enter the residence. Shin braces for combat, but is utterly stunned to see his mother walk through the door, despite an inner knowing of the grim reality. Unable to comprehend the situation, a bewildered and trembling Shin greets Nabucco home, inquiring about his father's absence. Meiji softly reveals it is a parasite, not his mother, but Shin vehemently rejects this truth. The alien remarks that the previous host likely pressured before reaching home, which it considers advantageous. In his bewildered state, Shin clutches the knife, holds the knife, preventing Meiji from transforming. He desperately calls out to his mother, clinging to the hope of her presence. Meiji, however, informs him that she is no longer there. Shin, losing control, threatens to sever Meiji's right hand if he utters another disparaging word about her. The distraught Shin laments, never having truly apologized to his mother. After an incident where he burned her arm and axial, the parasite, indifferent, then transformed and plunges a blade directly into his heart. Meiji, Hinder Bidaknifi is too slow to reach, Shin collapses, still in the neon that his mother has been replaced by a parasite. The parasite abandons Shin, presuming him dead, and informs Maggie that its host has perished, implying Maggie will soon share the same fate, as it is common for parasites that fail to seize the brain. Maggie, however, perceives a remaining opportunity to rescue him. Shin as heart is severely damaged, prompting Maggie to fashion a replacement, implant it within his chest, and manually initiate acts deathing. Despite Shin is unconscious state, Maggie infiltrates his body to facilitate a gradual healing process, simultaneously repositioning himself back into Shin's right arm. This intricate process consumes a significant amount of time. Consequently, Shin is absent from school for several days, leading Marano to become concerned and visit his home to ascertain his well-being. Concurrently, Maggie diligently continues Shin's recovery, even providing sustenance while he slumbers. A few days later, Shin eventually regains consciousness, albeit in a greatly weakened state. He soon observes a peculiar change. He no longer requires his glasses. Feeling this oddity, Hudson resolves to clean himself. It is there that he discovers a scar on his chest, a stark reminder of the anti-traumatic event. A searing pain pierces his heart, triggering an emotional collapse, but at that precise moment, the telephone rings. He answers the call, learning his father has been admitted to a hospital. Shin, relieved to hear his father has immediately rushed to visit. Outside, Marano awaits him. Upon seeing Shin, she expresses her concern, but he appears distant, merely informing her that his father is hurt, and that he is on his way to visit him. When she suggests his mother must be coping with the situation by herself, it intensifies Shin's pain, yet he continues to walk away. He stated he will not be returning to school for some time. Morano, worried, inquires if he will ever come back, but Shin merely offers a melancholic smile before departing, vowing vengeance. To eliminate the parasite that assumed his mother's identity, he boards a train, contemplating how to locate the alien before it can target his father. Concurrently, Kazuo is hospitalized, and police arrive to question him, inquiring about the event and his spouse. He informs them that Nabuko passed away, but the officers assert she is alive and had returned to the hotel, and subsequently checked out without him. Kazuo, in a state of panic, declares the woman an imposter, but the police counter that a burn mark on her hand verifies her identity. A psychiatrist informs Kazuo that his post-accident trauma is causing him to hallucinate, and manages to persuade him of this explanation. Shortly thereafter, Shin reaches the hospital. As he hurries into the room, Kazuo is both startled and pleased to see him. Shin attempts to discuss the events concerning his mother, but the profound pain prevents him from uttering a word, even though he sheds no tears. Kazuo abruptly states that Nabuko has been unaccounted for since the accident. Shin is stunned and recalls the monster to his father, but Kazuo claims he sustained a head injury during the accident and must be disoriented. Shin becomes enraged, vehemently asserting that the monster murdered Nabuko. Kazuo, however, insists he misspoke during their phone chat and that his injury has impaired his memory. Shin argues once more, but Kazuo rebukes him, visibly struggling to hold back tears. Shin then comprehends that his father is aware of the truth but is concealing it. He becomes even more resolute in his quest to locate and confront the alien. Yet he understands, and he cannot disclose the true events to anyone. He offers to remain at the hospital, but Kazuo suggests it would be uncomfortable and recommends a hotel close by, located merely 300 meters away. Shin consents, but feels apprehension as this distance falls within Miggy's rank for detecting adversaries, and Miggy, regrettably, is still slumbering at the hotel. Shin encounters a Giron he had previously seen out the train, and judges him indoor. Frankly so, long intense no failures of her was battle, simultaneously as the adversaries. But other perceptions have become significantly enhanced. Later, Maggie awakens and informs Xie that he has mended his body, but a little later, that Arthur has undergone transformation. Maggie now possesses a vulnerability. He requires 4 hours of sleep each day. A duration she notices is more than he himself typically gets. Shin remarks that he, too, used to sleep earlier. However, Maggie explains that, contrary to past instances, he will not awaken if danger approaches, and should an adversary strike during his sleep, both of them would praise. Shin questions why this information wasn't disclosed sooner. Maggie explained that following his mother's death, Shin began to hold all parasitas, including Maggie, responsible. But it was perilous to expose a vulnerability to him. Nevertheless, he now believes, concealing it poses an even greater risk. Shin asserts that he no longer views Maggie as an adversary. Given that Maggie saved his life, Maggie retorts that these actions were purely self-serving. The following morning, Shin appears considerably improved and heads to the hospital to visit his father. Ketan remains vigilant while Maggie rests. The girl, Maki, approaches him and inquires if he has a girlfriend, but before Shin can respond, Maggie issues a warning, stating he has detected a parasite at the nearby. Shin instantly sprints towards the shore, and Maki informs she that a wall obstructs their path. However, Shin moves too swiftly to head any advice. Maggie then questions if he is truly prepared to take the life of the woman who bears his mother as likeness. Shin pauses briefly and affirms his resolve, stating he cannot permit her to harm more individuals. Maki catches up to Jim during their conversation and interjects, saying, they must go around the wall to get to the beach. Shin dismisses this as a lack of skill and scales the wall with ease, when spots someone descending the outer scene. Upon discovering it's a parasite, Shin, consumed by fury and a desire to eliminate it, pursues it relentlessly. However, when he finally confronts the individual, he discovers it is not Kyoko, but a man. Shin is taken aback, yet convinced this man is also an alien. He prepares to strike. The man, panicking, pleads with Shin to halt. Abruptly, Migi intervenes, stating that the man's brain remains human, leaving Shin utterly bewildered. Just then, the man as morphs into an alien entity that begins to speak. Shin is once again terrified, having never witnessed such a sight, as the man and the alien share a single motto. Three appear to be engaged in a legislated contest over who gets total. Shin is baffled by this phenomenon, but Meiji clarifies that this pair possesses a human brain. While dissection from the jaw down to the chest is alien, the other alien corroborates their similar nature, and they subsequently settle down for a conversation. The man then recounts his tragical, revealing that his wife abandoned him, leaving him feeling like an individual incapable of making a choices. Consequently, he made the most significant decision of his existence to leap into the ocean. However, he lacked the bravery to follow through, remaining stationary until an alien parasite assailed him. During his struggle against the creature, he both tumbled into the water. The jaw parasite picks up the narrative, explaining its attempt to reach the man's head. Yet, it understood that if the host drowned, it too would press the train to access the brain. Therefore, it transformed into a breathing tube, saving the man asleep, wake-light to clear current study. The man then proposes to the alien that they activate combo mode, causing the jaw to reconfigure itself so both can articulate clearly. The man expresses his immense relief to finally encounter another individual in a similar predicament. He asks Shin to recount the story of his hand, but Shin suggests to save a more private location for that discussion. The man then introduces himself as Yuda, and his parasite as Ju, a clever pun on Zhao. Afterward, they proceed to the hospital. There, Yuda sheds tears upon hearing Shin as narrative, prompting Yu to mock him for his emotional display. Yu exhibits a more distinct personality than Migi, claiming he gained much knowledge from observing films. Subsequently, Yuda volunteers his assistance to Shin should he ever locate the enemy, and over Shin readily accepted. However, Meiji abruptly loses Shin. Stating there was a crucial detail he neglected to share earlier. Distracted by Yuda and Yu, he remains Shin of his incredible speed, likening his running to Usain Bolt, and his 3-meter high jump, asserting there as a specific reason behind it, but first, he proceeds to elucidate the capabilities of his own body. Migi revealed that his body possesses the ability to divide with a segment capable of independent thought. However, if these parts are excessively small, they rapidly perisson. So, he consistently issues preemptive commands for them to reintegrate with his mind form. He illustrates this with a demonstration, which left Shin feeling somewhat unnerved. Migi sensed that within Shin's body, even the most minute fragments can endure. Shin suddenly grasped the implication, and Migi confirms and adding that he utilized destiny component to mention as health, and they have since integrated into his bloodstream. Consequently, 30% of Shin's body is now composed of alien cells. Shin inquires if these parts also reach his brain. Migi, however, admits she cannot be certain, and asks if Shin has observed anything unusual. Shin initially denies it but then recalls that, despite experiencing intense emotions at the hospital, he was unable to shed tears. He speculates that this might signify a diminishing of his humanity. The following day, Maki surprises him. Shin asks her if he appears to be a normal human. She affirms, but when he merely smiles without responding, she becomes flustered and urges him to articulate clearly, suggesting he seems to be weeping internally. At that moment, Shin retrieves a child from Yuda, who reports having located the enemy and intends to delay her. Shin instructs him to retreat swiftly, warning him that she is prelude and will strike immediately upon realizing his parasite failed to seize control of his brain. Yuda attempts to flee, but he is far from it, requiring months of Kim training to be considered so, and Nebuko pursues it at a leisurely pace. Concurrently, Shin also sprints in the same direction. Migi, however, unexpectedly falls dormant mid-journey, transforming into a weapon, and informing Shin that the remainder is his responsibility. Meanwhile, Yuda finds himself trapped at the edge of a cliff. As Nebuko reaches him, she is astonished to discover a second host whose brain remains untouched, prompting her to resolve to eliminate him. She undergoes a transformation, and Yu expresses admiration, wishing he possessed the same capability. The battle commences, but Yu is restricted to defensive maneuvers due to his awkward attachment to Yuda's face. They are swiftly repelled, and then Nebuko pierces his heart and casts him acid, declaring that this blow will certainly be fatal, even for hybrid. Yuda and Yu collapse from the impact, and Nebuko departs. However, Setien detects the fine presence of another parasite, and is stunned to find Shin still alive. She remarks that she should have targeted his shield, and Niger orders her to kiss using his mother as voice to declare his demise. He resolves to engage in combat, but as she transforms, he finds himself unable to look at her face. Nebuko launches a sudden assault, but Shin can now clearly perceive her movements. He evades and leaps behind her, leaving her incredulous at his speed. He parries her blow and reaches the cliff's edge, where he spots the wounded Yuda. Shin believes that the sole individual who truly understood him is already gone, and he becomes arrogant. He lunges forward, wounding Nebuko with rapid attacks. Shin targets her head and severs her tentacles. However, as he attempts to deliver the final blow, she uses her heart for defense. Upon seeing the burn, Shin is overwhelmed by old memories of his mother, causing him to pause. Nebuko seizes this opportunity to retaliate and wound him, she is in a precarious situation as she regenerates and rises again. But then, abruptly, her head is severed and dismembered, and her body plummets into the sea. It was Yude and Joe accomplishing this, having managed to escape on their own. Yuda informs she that the woman was not his biological mother. Yet, he still shouldn't have been the one to kill her. Manuel, the parasite questions Yuda as survivor, and you explain that he deduced she was exclusively targeting the hair. To her, he altered its location just in time. Shin then gazes down at the sea, where his mother's body rested, believing that it is finally concluded. However, something within him shatters. Soon after, Kazu is discharged, and they return to the same place, as it was the seat of all the events. Kazu reassures Shie that his mother's love for him endures. Shin then inquires if Nebuko endured suffering in the terrible nightmare experience. Kazu responds that it all transpired instantaneously, and her demise was painless. He begins to weep, but Shin is relieved that at least his mother did not experience any agony. Abruptly, the accumulated stress had been carrying dissipates, and they immediately falls asleep. Later, he makes his way back to the city, and on this occasion, both Murano and Kana can sense his presence intensely, as he is no longer entirely human. Murano rushes towards him, astonished by his increased height, and even his appearance has transformed. As Toge underwent a second puberty, Manuel, Tamiya acquires a new associate who assumes control of a teenage boy as psyche. She instructs him to observe she, but explicitly not to kill him. The boy questions her profound concern for she, and she responds that while he is dangerous, it remains crucial to keep him alive for the purpose of collecting data and comprehending their species. Concurrently, Kana has begun to focus even more intently on Shen, even utilizing his photograph as her phone wallpaper. This, however, incites jealousy in a disagreeable individual named Mitsuo, who pursues to Shen as school intending to provoke a confrontation, unaware of the implications. Shin's personality has undergone a profound transformation, much like Sung Jinwoo as he is no longer his former self and urges Mitsuo to speak without delay. Because he has limited time, Jitok then asks if he has been intimate with Connor, to which Shin replies he hasn't seen her since their trip. Mitsuo disbelieves him and launches an attack, but Shin skillfully evades and trips him, advising him to yield as circumstances have changed. Mitsuo, however, stubbornly persisted in his assault. Shin then activates Ultra Instinct, effortlessly subduing Mitsuo without causing harm. Just then, Murano arrives, and Shin decides to leave, but she has already noticed the shift in his demeanor. She questions if something occurred during the journey or if he remains the same Shin. And he admitted he is asking himself the very same question. They subsequently go on a date through the market, where Kana is also present. She accurately predicts the Martian pastels this year, then was not possible. She is excited by the prospect of meeting him but quickly becomes disheartened when she spots Morano accompanying him. Shin returns home after this encounter, and discovers his father is still in disarray, having developed a drinking habit. Shin suggests to her a housekeeper, but Kazu is astonished by his son's coldness, and tells him to act as he wishes. The following day, while walking to school with Morano, Shin tests his super hearing and detects someone crying for help. He rushes to the location and finds an injured puppy on the street. Miki states it is too severely wounded to survive, so Shin picks it up and carries it to the garden to comfort it in its final moments. Morano also arrives, remarking that while she initially thought away, Shin had changed, saving the dog professor retains his former keenness. However, he soon shatters her illusion by choosing as the puppy there. He discards it into a bin. This terrifies Morano, who cannot comprehend how he could trap the puppy in such a manner. Shin calmly states it is no longer a puppy, merely a lifeless mass of man. Morano is crestfallen and concludes he has in the change. Before running away in tears, she, exhibiting typical mal-obliviousness, doesn't even grasp what he did wrong, so has seeks counsel from his best friend. Which is another common male response, Miggy tells him that logically, he said nothing incorrect. But he is clearly different from his original self, as the old Shin would not have called a puppy. A lump of mud, Shin realizes his error and thanks Miggy, then returns to properly bury the dog. Although he still contemplates how the dog as remains will later provide nutrients to the tree. He watches out see the Morano S-class, but shiftless upon seeing him. Shin therefore decides to grant her some space. Miggy then warns him of another alien nearby, and though Shin becomes cautious, Miggy assures him his own is not hostile, and resembles Tamiya, implying he might be amenable to reason and wishes to meet soon. The alien arrives, and Shin confronts him. But just then, the school bully intervenes, and the alien punches him for interrupting their conversation. He then introduces himself as Hideo, and informs Shin that he desires to begin by befriending both him and Miggy. Shin is surprised by this proposition, and Hideo adds that they share a game class today, and he intends to assess Shin's abilities during the class. They rise, and Shin deliberately restrains his speed to avoid appearing unusual. However, Hideo unleashes his full capabilities, and nearly breaks a national record. After class, Hideo speaks with Shin privately, praising the wonders of sports. But Shin shows no interest in the subject, and asks if Tamiya sent him to kill him. Hideo replies that Shin now uses a different name and did indeed send him, but not to assassinate Shin. He states he has no intention of harming Aion and adds that he has injured humans in months, having learned to consume an alternative type of meat, which he believes is optimal for everyone. Shin finds this difficult to believe, but Hideo insists that some parasites genuinely desire playful subsistence with humans. Miggy is partly convinced but then suggests he stop talking because he is on the verge of falling asleep and this they want Hideo to realize it. Shin then proceeds to Morano's classroom, intending to speak with her again. But thoughts of the parasites ignite his anger as Morano approaches to reconcile with him. She observes his furious expression and quickly retreats, much to his disappointment. On the other hand, Kana waits for Shin after school, convinced he is her soulmate, and possesses a unique ability to locate him. She senses his approach and greets him cheerfully, but it turns out to be Hideo instead. Kana becomes confused, as she was certain it was Shin, and Hideo grows curious about this. He questions how she could mistake him for Shin without even saying him, but Kana refuses to answer. Hideo then begins to drag her along, determined to learn the truth, and she screams for help. Fortunately, Shin happens to be passing by and rushes to the scene upon hearing her cries. Kana runs to him, and Shin demands to know Hideo's actions. He replies that he merely wished to converse with the Girl due to her perceptiveness, but Shin reminds him that if any harm befalls those around him, he will eliminate Hideo first. Hideo once again states he has no intention of fighting and simply walks away, noticing a faint signal emanating from Shin's right hand. Signal. Afterward, Kana expresses her gratitude to Shin just then. Morano walks past. Kana loudly requests Shin escort her to the station, sitting fair, and they consents. But when he turns, he sees Morano fleeing and realizes his mistake too late. He now has no choice but to escort Kana. While walking Kana to the station, she informs him that she senses his presence but admits her radar was off today. Shin warns her that this is not a positive sign, as he is detecting a dangerous wavelength. He advises her to keep her distance from it. Shin then returns home, discovering Kazu still in a drunken stupor. Kazu questions how Shin acquired Suchiya's strength, and remarks that Shin seems to be forged from steel, a comment that inflicts more emotional pain than he could have imagined. The following day, Kana disregards Shin as counsel, and turns when she senses his proximity, only to find Hideo instead and attempts to flee. At that precise moment, Mitsuo also appears and initiates a confrontation with Hideo for allegedly harassing his girlfriend. Despite Hana's warnings against fighting, he ultimately retreats to a secluded area with Hideo and is soundly defeated. Hideo cautions him against future pursuit, because the next time, he will certainly kill him. However, he fails to notice that Shin as friend, Takai, was also secretly following him, having developed a recent infatuation. Meanwhile, Shin attends school and gazes at the notice board where he initially encountered Morano, but she once more disregards him. Hideo is also nearby and detects another faint signal emanating from Migi, which raises his suspicions. He attempts to project killing intent. Through elicit a response from him, but no reaction occurs, Hideo begins to ponder if something is amiss with Migi or if he is simply unintelligent. That day, upon Shin-'s return home, he discovers his father in a meeting with a government official who, despite believing Kazu's account of monsters, status it cannot be disclosed to the public, because it walked into with desperate panic. He emphasizes the global nature of the issue and advises Kazu to perceive the parasites as feral creatures controlled within human society. Furthermore, a sketch is produced based on his descriptions, with the artist rendering a precise depiction of the creature as visaged. Concurrently, Tamiya has undergone a transformation, and is now meeting with another intelligent parasite. She asserts that if they continue to consume humans indiscriminately, they will inevitably be hunted. The male parasite conjures, and commented that only she has considered this matter with subject. When she inquires about their collective objective, he states that humans are a blight upon the earth, and their role is to regulate the population. Upon returning home, Shin-'s father chooses to disclose the full truth, explaining everything. Shin absorbs the information quietly, nodding in understanding. Yet he keeps his own secrets. Meanwhile, in another location, it is discovered that the sketch artist is Takai's sibling. One evening, as her brother sleeps, Takai glances at his notebook and spots a drawing of the parasite. He abruptly awakens, reclaiming the notebook and stating it as for an ongoing investigation. The following day, Takai observes Hideo by himself and resumes her surveillance. Unexpectedly, a rogue baseball strikes Hideo as Shin, causing an indentation. He rapidly recovers from the impact. Asek, that deeply disturbs Takai. This incident makes her realize that something is amiss. Concurrently, Shin resolves to speak with Morano to mend their relationship, but precisely as he prepares to approach her, Migi alerts her that Hideo is becoming aggressive. It is revealed that Mitsuo's group has arrived seeking vengeance, and Hideo is prepared to eliminate them. Shin hurries to intervene, leaving Morano bewildered. Simultaneously, Hideo perceives the unfolding situation and instructs the boys to launch a simultaneous assault. He does not wish to delay for Shin. Abruptly, Shin leaps over the barricade and appears, astonishing Hideo, who questions how Shin arrived so swiftly. Shin confronts Hideo, inquiring if he is finally revealing his genuine nature. Hideo retorted that he is not to blame, as the boys initiated the conflict. Shin instructs him to depart, assuring him he will manage the situation. Hideo accepts the consent, walking away without responding to the boys' taunt. The ruffians then ridicule Shin for defending a friend. However, Shin becomes enraged, declaring Hideo is not his friend. He orders everyone to return home and chase bothering Hideo for their own well-being. Mitsuo seems inclined to trust him. The other boys, however, remain unconvinced. Shin then challenges the strongest member of the group to a fight, and the individual promptly assaults Shin. Yet, Shin effortlessly parries the punch. As Shin prepares to incapacitate his arm to intimidate the other, the man grasps the vast disparity in their strength and flees instantly. He instructs his companions to follow, acknowledging their inability to win. Afterward, Shin goes back to school, where he finds Morano holding his back, awaiting him. They are on the verge of reconciling. Just then, Shin abruptly draws her near. As Hideo is present, Hideo questions Shin about his actions towards the bully, to which Shin angrily retorts that it is not his concern. Hideo departs, and Morano remains here. That he squeezing her hand. The apologizes and realizes her, remarking that Hideo might appear ordinary. However, he is deeply troubled internally. Morano attempts to soothe him, stating, he has truly transformed, adding that the Shin Shikdo would never spare in such a manner. She questioned if he is truly Shin. He reacts sharply, shouting at her to be queen, causing Morano to fly in tears. Later, Shin sits by himself, consumed by sadness. He attributes his emotional state to a void in his heart. Meiji attempts to offer comfort, asserting that Shin has grown more resilient, both physically and psychologically, and that others' opinions shouldn't matter. Meanwhile, Taika continues to shadow Hideo, eventually witnessing him alter his facial features, a set that utterly petrifies her. Having heard tales of shape-shifting creatures, she knows someone who can provide more information. She returns home and inquires about monsters with her brother, who explains they can inhabit human forms and consume humans. Kage begins to suspect Hideo is also a monster, yet she feels both unsure and frightened. She opts to speak with Hideo before taking any drastic action. The following day at school, Take summons Hideo for a meeting, bringing a bottle of achic for personal protection. When Hideo arrives and asks her reason for calling him, she confesses her past affection but mentions observing his peculiar actions. She then asks if he is, in fact, a man-eating monster. Hideo responds by asking, "What if I am?" She urges him to leave without harming Aion. Enraged that his secret is exposed, Hideo transforms, intending to kill him. Concurrently, Meiji detects the brain and alerts Shin. Shin, incensed by Takai's rash and foolish behavior, rushes out of the classroom and sprints down the corridor in search of her. However, he has no precise knowledge of her location. Meanwhile, Takai is already in a state of panic as Hideo has unveiled his monstrous form. He commands her to remain still. He assures her of a swift, painless demise if she accomplishes. He attacks, but she stumbles, narrowly evading his blow. She then launches the ice bottle and, in a desperate act, hurls it at him. Hideo intercepts it mid-flying, but the acid splashes onto him, searing his face. He cries out in agony and undergoes further transformation, allowing Takai to seize the opportunity to flee. She scrambles out of the window. Students below gaze upward, spotting her, but before they can react, a tentacle suddenly whips on. She plummets downwards in terror, but at 3 occasions her distant. The students rush to her aid, then resolve to head upstairs to investigate the recent events. Concurrently, Hideo is in distress, having transformed impulsively, and some of the acid has entered his system. His face is now disfigured, and he struggles to think coherently or manage his facial expression due to the compromised tissues. Migi detects Hideo as disjointed and chaotic throughout, informing she that she must act quickly. Simultaneously, the students and teachers ascending the stairs encounter Hideo in his transformed state. He instinctively slaughters them all before escaping, a fight Migi promptly relies to Shin. Some surviving teachers witness the horrific scene. They shriek in horror before raising the alarm and contacting the authorities. Migi perceives Hideo moving towards their classroom, prompting him and Shin to rush back. However, they encounter a frantic throng at the entrance. Migi suggests utilizing the crowd for a safe evacuation, but the teachers, still in a panic, report a missing class. Shin understands it as Morano as glad and hurries to locate her. As he asks, Shin observes students fleeing downwards in terror, but Morano is not among them. he refuses to accept her loss. Upon reaching the floor, he discovers heaps of bodies, and for an instant, this man goes numb as he lets out a terrified scream. Migi instructs him to calm down and regulate his breathing. Shin reflects on how his father and Morano had told him he was different, no fully grasping the extent of his transformation. He swiftly regains his composure and vows to rescue Morano by personally eliminating Hideo. He advances, spotting an individual resembling Morano. Fortunately, it proves to be someone else. My predecessor, utilizing his heightened hearing to pinpoint three individuals, and upon reaching them, he discovers Morano is with them. The moment she spots him, she embraces him tightly. Shin informs her they must depart immediately. The older boy becomes frantic, realizing the massacre occurred in the direction Shin came from, and suspect he may be one of the monsters. Consequently, they flee in the opposite direction, and are instantly shut down. Instantly aware of Hideo's proximity, Shin seizes Morano, rushes into an unoccupied classroom, then leaps out the window, scaling the school fence, and brings her to safety. Morano remains petrified and shaken, so he gently reassures her before entrusting her to the emergency responders. He then turns back, heading towards the shore. By this point, the police have entirely cordoned off the vicinity, making entry difficult. When Migi asks if he still intends to fight, Shin declares it as their duty to conclude this. Migi trusts the police will eventually apprehend Hideo, but Shin observes Hideo slaughtering several officers and escaping to the rooftop despite his injury. Shin determines that the sole method to defeat Hideo is to eliminate him from a distance, so he positions himself 300 meters away to evade discovery. He patiently awaits Hideo's appearance on the rooftop, then combines his strength with Migi's aiming ability to propel arrow to the long process. The projectile flawlessly penetrates Hideo's hair, and the police discover his lifeless body soon after. Subsequent news reports attributed Hideo's violent outbursts, which resulted in numerous student fatalities, to a drug addiction. The government opted for a cover-up, aim of Migi deemed judicious. Migi justified the cover-up by explaining the difficulty of identifying parasites in humans through standard detection techniques. Shin, conversely, insisted on the immediate need to aid humanity. Migi rebutted Shin's plea, reiterating his sole concern for personal survival and the simultaneous safeguarding of his anonymity. Meanwhile, government authorities convened a clandestine meeting to strategize their next course of action, where certain members proposed revealing the presence of parasites to the populace. The officials deliberated on detection methods, and as scientists informed them that parasite cells are sustained solely by an uninterrupted flow of blood. They posited that extracting a single hind offers the simplest diagnostic, particularly for minute parasitic component as a parasite as hair would reach and prisma, unlike human hair. In contrast, human hair would exhibit no response. This ingenious idea was met with universal acclaim, leading to the scientist's nomination for the Nobel Prize. Concurrently, Shin and Murano as Bond depended following the recent event. Shin withheld the complete root of his actions, attributing his leap from the third story, and offered the barrel to a mere surge of adrenaline, a claim she accepted. At that moment, they observed two children ayat, looking each other as high as a customary salutation. This practice had become widespread following the dissemination of the new detection technique. Nevertheless, peace prophet preludes, as parasites unmasked in secluded locations, would simply eliminate and consume individuals unfortunate enough to uncover their clandestine existence. Thus weary, Kana the MCU was a royal figure amidst a blossoming garden, only for monsters to suddenly assault her. Fortuitously, Shin appeared as a valiant prince, vanquishing the creature and rescuing her. Yet, precisely as the lion gave for a kiss, she awoke in a state of utter discomposure, no firmly believing the dream had significant meaning, as she were at the Lulu last boss. Subsequently, she perused news reports concerning the school incident involving Hideo and Rachel as prior caution about Peril, prompting her to question if Shin himself was implicated in the affair. Abruptly sensing Shin's proximity, she stealthily approached him and attempted to pull Astran off his hair, but he halted her, citing it as impolite. He ultimately permitted it, and although the hair exhibited no response, Kana chose to retain it as a personal talisman. She then accompanied Shin, inquiring if he possessed any information regarding Hideo, which he denied. Shin started to contemplate whether he could confide the truth in Kana, given her apparent uniqueness. Yet he was aware Migi was confused and would disapprove. Consequently, he advised Kana to keep her distance whenever she perceived his presence, warning her she might encounter a monster. However, Kana dismissed his warning, asserting she would simply look ahead to verify. This infuriated Shin to such an extent that he forcefully pinned her against a wall, and vehemently instructed her not to proceed. He subsequently composed himself, elucidating the inherent danger, while Kana secretly delighted in his concern for her well-being. At that precise moment, Migi declared their need for a discussion, and Shin departed hastily, oblivious that Murano had witnessed the entire exchange from afar. Meanwhile, Migi countered Shin against further communication with Kana, citing that he was divulging too many clues. Kana then spotted Murano, and he opted to converse. Murano inquired if Kana also perceived a significant recent alteration in Shin as the manner. But Kana responded that he had consistently exhibited such intensity and ferocity. Kana was aware of Murano's affection for Shin, yet Murano's troubled countenance indicated that their relationship was experiencing difficulties, which instilled hope in Kana that she still had an opportunity in a different sector of the city. A Muscot man, clad only in his undergarments and a sleeveless undershirt, entered a Yakuza establishment and questioned the guard about the number of individuals present. When the guard instructed him to depart, the man declined, sporting an unsettling grin. A gangster attempted to assault him, aiming to teach him a lesson, but the man violently slammed the gangster's head against the wall before proceeding into the structure. He then commented as author of a very unweighted, deftly evading bullet and dismembering individuals with his bare hand, all without sustaining a single injury. Abruptly, a single assailant succeeded in wounding him with a sword, but he shattered the weapon, using his sheer muscular stumble, propelling a fragment into another man's skull. He registered his as unsuccessful streak. He persisted in eliminating more gangsters, meticulously tallying each team he was through. Ultimately, he was hit only 3 times, which he deemed a rather satisfactory outcome. The surviving gangsters, though petrified, demanded to know what he was rambling about, and the parasite informed them he was conducting an experiment to assess his prowess against an armed contingent before dispatching them. Outside, onlookers congregated around the edifice upon discovering the corpses and alerted the police. The authorities panicked upon witnessing the blood-soaked man emerge. However, instead of maintaining a safe distance, they imprudently pursued him, only for him to disappear around a bend. He then seized one of the men from behind and reappeared, disguised as him. They calmly proceeded to his vehicle, where his parasite chauffeur transported him to his superior. The boss expressed considerable satisfaction with the outcome of his small trial. Meanwhile, Shin and Murano embarked on their inaugural date, but the situation rapidly grew uncomfortable as she raised the subject of his significant transformation, even implying that the she who returned from his journey might not be the identical individual. Upon her mention of the trip, Shin abruptly rose and departed. Later, while resting on a park bench, they observed a child weeping. The child was distressed because he couldn't take a pace with his mother. Gadsden called her stupid. The already fatigued woman became enraged and attempted to strike him, which evoked a distressing memory in Shin's consciousness regarding his own mother, and he began to murmur about a void in his heart. Murano grew concerned for him, and as she uttered his name, Shin abruptly regained his composure. They walked home, and they pondered whether his fusion with Migi Estella had depleted his emotion. Nevertheless, he was convinced that his affection for Murano persisted, and that his sentiments were unequivocally his own. As they proceeded homeward, Kana suddenly detected Shin's presence and hurried to his vicinity, only to witness him kissing Murano. Her heart shattered at the sight, and she quickly retreated. Conversely, Murano by Shin Fareumud began to weep inwardly, still uncertain if the individual she was with was indeed the authentic Shin. That evening, Kana became distraught and telephoned Shin, expressing her desire to speak with him. He arranged to meet her the following day, but upon arriving at the station, Migi abruptly detected 5 other parasites in the vicinity, causing Shin to panic due to their overwhelming number. Migi then stated that they had also become aware of Shin's presence, but did not appear aggressive at that moment as they drew nearer. Migi sensed a grand total of 8 parasites, 6 positioned on a stag and 2 standing beneath it. Shin discreetly observed them, discovering a mayoral candidate advocating for environmentally conscious policies alongside his adherents, and they pondered which individuals among them were parasites. Tentu, warning is usual code this atas dengan fasmansur. Dua maksudnya, that but instantly identified as odrak, persisted it. She was usually panic. Although Migi expressed certainty that the other parasite would not initiate an attack, Tasri seemed uninterested. Shin resolved to flee at once, but he collided with Kana. He questioned her presence, and she retorted that it was a foolish inquiry, given that she resided there and had been the only to summon him. Only then did Shin recall their arrangement. However, he was now profoundly concerned for her safety. Subsequently, Shin and Migi returned home and conversed about the politician Hirokawa, speculating whether he was a parasite, and why an individual of his apparent nature would aspire to the mayoral office. Migi proposed that he might possess a genuine interest in the position and could potentially prove to be an excellent mayor, yet he also put forth the idea. Shin suddenly grasped that Hirakawa's objective might be to establish a secure sanctuary for parasites, illuminating everything for him. His thoughts then drift to Kana. He recalls Kana's earlier remark about sensing an identical energy from 3 or 4 individuals behind him, which heightens his concern for her well-being. The following day, Shin ventures to Hirakawa's headquarters to ascertain the number of parasites concealed there, but he unexpectedly encounters Kon and chooses to engage her in conversation. He questions if she, too, experiences the same peculiar sensation from other individuals. Kona replies that it occasionally happens with random strangers, and when Shin instructs her to avoid it, she declines, insisting on an explanation and inquiring if it is linked to the parasite. Just then, Mitsu appears, stating his desire to speak with Kana. Shin steps aside, informing Kana that they will have a serious discussion later and they will text her. Kana reiterates that she can always sense his presence nearby. This ignites Mitsu's jealous, prompting him to wonder if Kana is now promiscuous. Later, Migi questions Shin about his serious consideration of revealing the truth to Kana. Shin confesses his intention. Migi promptly warns him that if she ever possesses a triumph, he will be forced to eliminate her, as preserving their anonymity is of utmost importance. Meanwhile, Kona's thoughts are consumed by Shin, and she suddenly senses his proximity. She rushes out late at night to find him, but instead encounters a creepy woman and becomes frightened. She flees, but at that moment, she receives a message from Shin requesting a meeting for the following day. They convene the next day at a derelict building. Shin slams his hand against the wall to ensure Meiji is asleep. Then he reveals everything about the parasites and Meiji to Kano, hoping for her understanding. However, she disbelieves him, claiming he must believe because he wishes to avoid her know that he has a girlfriend. Shin asserts he won't tell about something of this magnitude merely to avoid her. Kana-chan throws a tantrum, insisting her power is special and allows her to distinguish him from others. Despite her dishonesty, Shin chooses to believe her. Kana-chan decides to depart, but tells Shin she hopes to witness the capabilities of his right hand someday. The following day, Shin walks home with Morano, while Kana secretly trails her, wondering why he does not notice her despite their supposed soulmate connection. She yearns for him to notice her and inadvertently emits a signal similar to a parasite S, which Meiji immediately detects. Mitsuo reappears, sweeping Kana out of her desk and telling her to give up on Shin, because he is take and not good for her. Kana becomes enraged. She questions if he believes he is suitable for her. Chen calls him an ugly and stupid loser, which wounds Mitsuo's feelings. Kana realizes she overstepped. She attempts to apologize, but it is too late, and he walks away without a backward glance. The following day, Meiji informs she that Kana is now capable of emitting a signal, similar to other parasites. Shin begins to panic, fearing this could put her in danger. Meiji explains that the signal only functions within a short range and requires intense focus, so she should be safe. However, Shin then revealed he had already disclosed everything to Kana while Meiji was asleep. He promises that Kana will not betray him and then asks Meiji to reveal his true form to her. Meiji agrees, which greatly surprises Shin, as it is very uncharacteristic of him. Shin decides to meet Kana the following day, but upon reaching the station, Meiji suddenly senses two parasites nearby. Shin quickly changes the meeting location and pretends to be on a phone call to avoid appearing suspicious. Once the parasites leave, he calls Kana, but she has already left her phone at home. Determined to prove her power and make Shin notice her, Kana decides to find him independently. By following the signal, simultaneously, Meiji detects a parasite signal emanating from an abandoned building, and Shin realizes that Kana may be heading towards it. So he rushes there. Coincidentally, Kana has already arrived at the location, and senses someone she believes to be Shin, but it turns out to be a parasite feeding on a human. Kana panics and attempts to flee as the parasite spots her, but it attacks her and injures her arm. Kana still believes Shin will arrive to save her, just as in her dream. Shin does arrive, but he is too late. She is stabbed in the heart just as she says Shin, and then falls to the ground. Shin is so consumed by rage that he falls silently. He instructs Meiji to take over defense, then charges at the parasite, smashing it through the wall, and kills it by ripping out its head. He then rushes back to Kana, and lifts her into his arms, but she has already lost too much blood to survive. Kana smiles and says she enjoy welcome, and that it feels exactly like her dream. She does with a smile on her face, while the strand of Shin as high she had wrapped around her finger quickly breaks. Shin feels utterly devastated by her death but still finds himself unable to shed tears. A few days later, he attends Kana's funeral and remains composed through God. The police are also present and wife to Shin, having already interrogated him earlier because he was the one who discovered her body. He remains largely silent, and the officers understand his dislike for them. However, they can begin to wonder who killed the parasite responsible for Kana's death. Meanwhile, Shin walks home, continually blaming himself for Kana's death, but Meiji tells him that her demise was merely a matter of time. Just then, Mitsuo arrives. Looking devastated and disheveled, they question Shin about his failure to protect Kan and why he played such an effect. After her death, without waiting for a reply, Mitsuo punches Shin, and Shin falls. Mitsuo picks him up and continues to beat him, shouting that Kana's death is Shin's fault. He questions why Shin is teaching at all and yells, asking if he is even human anymore. That is when Shin snaps and punches Mitsuha hard, shouting that he doesn't know if he is human. Then asks why humans must be so fragile. Before things escalate further, Shin stops himself from hitting Mitsuha again and walks away. He keeps wondering why he cannot read and considers that Migi may have taken over his brain without him even realizing it. He goes to a farm. Ngan starts hitting his head against a tree, but Migi stops him. Shin says, "Here, his blood is still red, but he is no longer certain." If that alone is sufficient evidence to affirm his continued humanity.